This is the EBO Cruiser from Electric Bike Outfitters. It's just a kit, but it's installed on this Pure City Cruiser. It's like a $400 bike. So keep that in mind. The kit here, it's $925. The bike is however much you want to spend. I mean, I've seen bikes at Walmart for, you know, a couple $100s. This one's a little bit more fancy, and you've got the fenders and, you know, just a few upgrades. It's nice and stylish. But the benefit of most cruiser bikes is kind of the style, a little bit larger tires for some cushion. Not all of them have a whole full range of gears, but I think this one has 8 speeds, which is pretty nice. You know, helps you go from lower speeds to higher speeds if you want. And of course, this one's got a nice step-through design, and that's really complemented by the rear rack mounted battery that we've got here. And that's really what differentiates the EBO Cruiser from like the EBO Phantom or some of their other kits, is that this one has a rack battery system. So one of the drawbacks is going to be rear heavy, right? You've got the rack, you've got the battery. The battery, I weighed it earlier, it's like 7 pounds. The motor right here, that's also in the back, and that's, you know, 5 or 6 pounds. So you can kind of see if you were to lift the bike up in the middle, it would sort of tip towards the back. But for the type of riding you're doing with something like this, going around town, you know, visiting your friends, maybe going to work or something, but it's just not, it's not quite as active. And so if you want a more active design, of course, EBO offers, you know, the down tube batteries and stuff, but I actually think this works pretty well for what it is. And it gives you some utility. I like the rack. It's got the pannier blockers. It's pretty, you know, burly looking. It says max weight 25 kilograms on there. And it is disc brake compatible. So I think it comes with some adapters on the back that are designed to sort of fit around disc brakes. If your cruiser or whatever type of bike you have requires those. And then there's also some screw mounts right here, so you could add a disc rotor. So that's cool. It's a very, not only the kit, but the company is very flexible. Like, there are a lot of options, and some of those options being whether you want a rear mounted motor or a front mounted. So, you know, I was talking about balance there for a second. You could move the motor to the front. You're not going to get quite the same traction. So as you can see, is when a person's sitting on this seat, a lot of the weight and everything is towards the back. You're also going to impact steering a little bit because you're going to have some added weight on the front, but it's going to be a little bit easier to install and take the wheel off for service and stuff. When it's at the back, you're dealing with a lot of times these extra cables and stuff for your derailleur if you have it. So kind of keep those things in mind. I'm going to just get into just some of the specs on how this thing's set up. It comes with a 350 watt internally geared, planetary geared hub motor. Again, front or rear compatible. It's black, which is nice. It blends in with this cassette right here. And you get to choose whether you want like a single speed or 6, 7, 8, or 9 sprockets. And those are either Shimano or another brand. So you get decent stuff, and then it just kind of syncs up with your derailleur. If you have a 6-speed bike, you probably want to get a 6-speed the sprocket configuration from them, just so that everything lines up. But it's just nice to have that kind of flexibility. Also, in terms of choosing, you on their website right now, it says 26, 27.5, and 28 in terms of wheel diameter. These are 26-inch wheels, which is pretty common on cruisers, but Electric Bike Outfitters can also do 16-inch, 20-inch, 24-inch. So if you're someone who has a kid with a really small bike, or maybe you're just petite and you have 24-inch wheels, or maybe it's a folding bike, they can accommodate you, and that's really cool. So again, front or rear motors, big or small wheels, just a whole bunch of options. The rims are pretty generic looking. They all kind of look like this with the black, and then there's kind of some silver on the side for use with these sort of traditional pad style caliper actuated brakes. You know, that I don't see a brand or anything, but it looks like an inch wide in terms of seating your tire. It should work for most setups. And you can see in this case that the front rim doesn't match the rear. And that's one of the trade-offs when you're doing a kit, along with just having these extra wires and things kind of strung all across the bike. It's not too bad though. And I do like that their connectors up here are kind of color-coded, and that with this kit in particular, and I guess all of their higher end kits, you get a display, you get a trigger throttle. You can request a twist throttle if you want, but with a bike like this where you've already got a grip twist going on and you've got a bell and some other stuff, I kind of like just the trigger throttle. It stays out of the way. And of course, you get this nice cadence sensor down here. And it can be a bit of work to get this on because it's not one of those sort of half and half that you kind of fit around Your spindle, you kind of have to take the crank arm off and slide this on, and then there's this little mounting piece right here which has the sensors, and this is only a 5 magnet sensor. So I would normally complain and be like, oh, it's not very responsive, but I actually thought it was pretty responsive when I rode this. So I mean, it kind of depends on how you mount it, and that just comes back to the energy that you're going to have to spend, the time to kind of get these plates on and configure that. So there is a trade-off. You save some money with kits a lot of times. You get to use your own bike, but you get those wires, you have those extra steps. Keep that in mind. Okay, so we got the rack, we got the motor, everything's looking pretty good here. We talked about the wires. You can see that there's sort of a little button pad that's easy to reach here on the right. And then we've got the throttle, which is a bit of a reach on this bike because it has the twist shifter, and that's here, just, you know, relatively easy to reach, but it can kind of get a little bit tiresome after a while. And then the display, and the display can swivel a little bit if you don't over tighten it, but it's pretty permanent. It's not removable. So, you know, if you're parking your bike somewhere, it's going to get a lot of direct sunlight, could get bumped a little bit more easily, but I actually really like the display, and I'll get back to that in a minute. So here we are at the battery pack. The controller is built right into sort of the seating position here. You don't have to have an extra box, and I really like that. It's really clean, it looks nice, and it is locking. So if we take the key out here, we just go ahead and twist it. We could slide this whole thing out from the back and take it with us. Again, I weighed it and it's like 7 pounds. So it's not super light, but it's nice that you could take it inside to charge it. Maybe you leave your bike in the garage and it's really hot or really cold. It's gonna be better to kind of store the battery in a kind of a neutral temperature type of a storage location. Got a battery level indicator, an on-off switch right here, and that's for the light on the back. So this is actually a really nice light in my opinion. So it's like Linneo by Spaninga. This is a good brand. I see this on some of the European bikes. And here's the charging port location. You could charge the battery on or off the bike. And then there's a switch on the bottom, and that switch needs to be turned on before the bike will go. Okay, so we just turned the switch on, and now we've got our second activation step right here. And there we go. So 2 steps to activate. The display comes on, 4-level battery indicator. It's not as many as some bikes. It's nice to have a few more bars to, you know, finer increments, but you know, it's all right. You've got your time, there's a clock, you've got your speed, your wattage going to your motor, temperature outside, distance, kind of your odometer, and if you press the power button, you get some other stuff. So you can get your average speed, max speed, that kind of stuff. But the real value in having a display, aside from how fast am I going and how close is my battery to being fully expended, is using it for the pedal assist, right? So we can go down to 0, and I tested it. Unfortunately, the throttle does not work at level 0. I talked to the company and they said, oh, you know, we think that can kind of be configured, but they weren't able to give me the feedback on site. So who knows? You can go from there up through 5 levels of assist, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the great news here is that you can override those assist levels at any time with the throttle and get full power. So I love that. I'm often like riding my bike, you know, cruising on the flats, feeling pretty good. I got a good cadence, and then, oh, there's a hill, or oh, I got to pass some people. It's nice to just like, you know, hit that throttle and zip right by. So this bike allows you to do that with that throttle. So I love that. And then having 5 levels with a relatively responsive pedal assist is decent. You know, a lot of this technology, it's like the motor is very generic, but the battery does have Samsung cells, and the rack's a little bit better. You know, you're getting a little bit nicer stuff. And for $925 plus, you know, a few $100, $400 for a bike, depending on what you've got. So this is a bike that's an electric bike for under $1,500. Definitely more affordable, pretty flexible, and they offer a good warranty. So 30-day kind of money back option, and then a year comprehensive on all this stuff, and they offer pretty good coverage and some nice upgrade paths if you wanted a larger battery or whatever. But 36 volts, 11.6 amp hours on that, 350 watt nominal hub motor. So yeah, very cool. Let's just hop on this thing and actually give it a go. You know, I'm out here in Fort Collins, and there's a little bit of a hill right here, so I was thinking I would just, you know, gun it and get some, to, you know, see how it does without pedaling. Because this has a 26-inch wheel size and I'm only 135 pounds, it does just fine. I tested it earlier. The smaller the wheel size, the more It's like mechanical advantage the motor has because it doesn't have to pull this really wide wheel. So let's just give it a go. We got the trigger throttle right here. I'm actually going to take it down to pedal assist level 3 just for the test. You can hear it a little bit more. That's kind of the gears going on in there. But it's working pretty well. Didn't have to pedal at all. Definitely getting some nice speed out of this thing. Okay, so I found some shady area here because I wanted to demonstrate that the display is backlit. So if you just hold down that up key for a couple seconds, boom, it actually did just light up a little bit. It's kind of a light blue. A nice extra feature. Unfortunately, it doesn't control the rear light, and it doesn't come with a front light or anything, but the fact that it has any lights is kind of cool. I'm going to hop back on and do a little bit more cadence testing, just show you how responsive that is. I'm in level 3. Not bad. It definitely senses, but with only 5 magnets, it's a little bit less responsive than some kits I've tried. Very cool. Well, there you go. It's an electric bike kit under $1,000. Bunch of options, wheel sizes, motor location, but the EBO Cruiser just giving you that rear rack mount, which is not bad from what I've seen. So for the full write-up on this and other electric bike reviews from these guys, I'll see you back at ElectricBikeReview.com, and as always, ride safe.